Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisance, all close to Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Kevaradari Gopijana Vallabha Kevaradari Yasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskatyai Dasatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaura Haribo Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pungam Langrayate Karim Yatkripa Tadam Vande Shirom Tina Dharanam Amarjana Timrandasya Chinanjana Shanakya Sakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaura Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatarni Srila Prabhupada Ki. So this morning I will present a lecture on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I will speak about the predictions of Lord Chaitanya in the scriptures, the reasons for his appearance, and then his appearance in this world, and some stories of past times from his youth and his appearance. So, someone will translate. So first I would like to read a verse from the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, Text 38. I don't know if we can bring that on the screen, or should I just read it? Yeah, I put it in the in the chat. It's 7, Chapter 9, 38. There it is. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is a verse spoken by Prahlad Maharaj to Lord Nrsimhadev after Lord Nrsimhadev had killed his father, Hiranyakashipu, the great demon. So now I will first read the Sanskrit. This verse is very special because Prahlad Maharaj speaks about Lord Chaitanya. Itam nitiryach rishidevaya savatare lokam vibhavayasi hamsijarat pratipan dharmam mahapurushapasichuhanuvrittam chanakalayat abhavastayuhotya tasatvam. Translation. So I will read it in English, just if it can be translated. You have it? Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you. In this way, my Lord, you appear in various incarnations as a human being, an animal, a great saint, a demigod, a fish, or a tortoise, thus maintaining the entire creation in different planetary systems and killing the demoniac principles. According to age, O my Lord, you protect the principles of religion. In the age of Kali, however, you do not assert yourself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore you are known as Tri-Yuga, or the Lord who appears in 3 yugas. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, Lord Chaitanya appeared in order to protect the fallen souls of Kali Yuga. So it is said in this verse that the Lord, he appears also in Kali Yuga, but he does not present himself as being God, as being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes, and that's the point that Prahlad Maharaj makes in the purport. You do not assert yourself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Kali Yuga. You do not present yourself as the Supreme Lord. And it's true, Lord Chaitanya never presented himself as the Supreme Lord. Srila writes in the purport, if he was addressed as being as good as Krishna, he blocked his ears with his hands, denying his identity with Krishna. Also in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Chaitanya is predicted. Eleven 5:32. Krishna Varnam Svisa Krishnam. Yeah. Krishna Varnam Svisa Krishnam Sangopagastas Parshadam Sakher Sankirtanarpair Yayanti Sumedasam. In Kali Yuga, intelligent men worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is always accompanied by his associates as Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar and Srivas. It says Krishna Varnam is the incarnation who always chants the names of Krishna, Krishna Varnam. So, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, the entire Krishna consciousness movement is based on the principle of the Sankirtan movement, inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj explains who is Lord Chaitanya and what are his reasons for his appearance. So I will read from Adi Lila, chapter 1, verse 1 to 6. These 6 verses explains all this. that. So I will read these first 6 verses. I'm sure you will be able to follow in your own language. It are the first 6 verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay. And then after that we will discuss this. Van, yeah. Vande Gurun Isha Bhaktam. Before we start, read Jaya Jaya Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Vande Gurun Isha Bhaktam Isham Ishvatarakam Tat Prakasham Sutta Shakti Krishna Chaitanya Samyakam. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the spiritual masters, the devotees of the Lord's incarnations, his plenary portions, his energies, and the primeval Lord himself, Sri Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Saudita Gaudadaye Puspam Vanta Shitra Sanda Tamonuda. I offer my respectful obeisance unto Sri Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and the moon, the aberrations simultaneously on the horizon of Gaura to dissipate the darkness of ignorance, and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. Text 3. Yat Advaitam Brahmapanishaditvat apyasyatanubha Yatat mantar yami parusha iti survyam savibhava Sat aishvarya purnoyaya bhagavan svasvayamam Na Chaitanya Krishna Jarati Paratatvam Param. Yeah. When the Upanishads describe the impersonal Brahman is but the effulgence of his body, and the Lord known as a super soul is but his localized plenary portion, Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, full with 6 opulences. He is the absolute truth, and no other truth is greater than or equal. Text 4, 5 and 6 describe then the reasons why Lord Chaitanya appears. This text 4 explains what Lord Chaitanya comes to give, what no incarnation gave before. Anarpita Sharim Shira Karunavaya Tirna Kalo Samarpaitamona Rasham Svabhakti Sriyam Haripurata Sundara Dyutikadamba Sandipita Sadaridaya Kandre Spuratuvam Satchinandana. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Shrimati Satchideva Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in the age of Kali, by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So, that is what Lord Chaitanya gave us, that no incarnation gave before. It is love for Krishna in the conjugal mood, which is only available in Goloka Vrindavan. So text 5 and 6 reveals confidential reasons why Lord Chaitanya appeared. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Saktirasmat Ekatmanavapi Bhuvo Puradeya Bedam Katatam Chaitanyakyam Prakatam Aduna Tatravyam Sakyam Aptam Radha Bhava Jyotishu Suvalitam Nami Krishna Svarupam. The loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's eternal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, they are separated themselves eternally. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. So, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nai Angam. Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna combined. It's Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Why does Lord Chaitanya appear in the mood of Radharani, Srimati Radharani? Why does he do that? That's explained in the next verse. Shiradaya pranayayima kriti sarvana chaiva svatyo yana bhutamadur kitri sarvamadiya sakyam sasya mat anubhavata kitri samveti lobat tvabhavyasam yani sachi garpasinda arindu. Desiring to understand the glories of Radharani's love, the wonderful qualities in him, that she alone relishes through her love, and the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love, the Supreme Notary, richly endowed with her emotions, appeared from the womb of Srimati Sachi Devi as the moon appeared from the ocean. So, in general, why does the Lord appear? Yadai yadai dharmasya glanir bhavta bharata abdyutanam dharmasya tatatmyam chichamyam. Whenever there is a decline in religious principles or Krishna consciousness, the Lord appears to re-establish the real principles of religion or Krishna consciousness. Of course, Paritranaya Sadhanam Vinasaya Sadhuskritam. He comes to protect the devotees and he comes to annihilate the demons. But you have different kinds of incarnations. Mainly there are 6 main categories of incarnations. Lord Chaitanya is a Yuga avatar. So Lord Chaitanya, Yuga avatar, yes, we have heard that Prahlad Maharaj said, yes, you are, my Lord, you are 3 Yuga. You appear in 3 ages, in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. That so when he appears in the white color, so he says here Triyuga, because also Gargamuni said to Nanda Maharaj when at the name giving ceremony of Lord Krishna, your son is very special. He appeared in 3 yugas. He appeared in white, in red, and in black. So he appeared as white as Hamsa avatar in Satya Yuga, and in red as Jagya avatar in Treta Yuga, and as Krishna, the blackish incarnation, at the end of Dwapara Yuga. So Lord Krishna appears at the end of the 28th Divya Yuga. At the end of that Dvapara Yuga, Lord Krishna always appears in one day of Brahma. So, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ete Samskala Pumsa, Krishna's 2 Bhagavan. He is the souls of all other incarnations. But now, every time he appears at the end of Dwapara Yuga, in the 28th Divya Yuga, in the Kali Yuga that follows, he appears again. But he appears as Chana. Chana means he is covered. He does not appear as Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he appears as Bhakta Rupa in the form of his own devotee. Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadam Prichya Mamakam Samvacham Tvam Sarvapapyoksha Muksaisya Shimatisha. You just surrender unto me, Krishna says, surrender. But the people in Kali Yuga cannot do that. They are so fallen that they cannot even follow this instruction. Therefore Krishna appeared again in this Kali Yuga. He appeared again to show us how we can surrender in Kali Yuga. What's the process? He gave us the process for Kali Yuga. Very easy. You just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Kirtan. So that is Sankirtan, the basis of our movement. Because all these processes of self-realization mentioned in previous ages, they do not work in Kali Yuga. That in Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, what the process was deity worship. And we are also doing deity worship, right? We are worshipping Gaura. But this deity worship, if we do that in Kali Yuga, that will only work if it combined with the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. It must be combined. Also, the hearing of the Bhagavatam and the discussion of the scriptures, it will only work if we combine it with chanting the holy name of Krishna. So it's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, all the sages of Namaisaranya, they were first in the morning doing their duties and they had all a sadhana, and then they started hearing the Bhagavatam, the sacrifice for this age. Technically, Lord Chaitanya is not an incarnation. Because he's Krishna himself. That in other Kali Yugas, there is also a Yuga avatar, but these are avatars of Vishnu. They are not directly Krishna, but Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. So he came to propagate the particular religious activity for this age. Kali, Kalera, Dharma, Sri Krishna Sankirtan. Lord Chaitanya taught this and practiced this. So he appeared to show us how we can make spiritual progress in this age. But then there are the internal reasons for Lord Chaitanya's appearance, or we can say the personal reasons of Krishna, why he wanted to appear as Lord Chaitanya. He had certain personal desires that he wanted to explore. Yeah, he had certain personal desires he wanted to explore. He wanted to explore the nature of Srimad Radharani. He wanted to know more deeply his relationship with Srimad Radharani. That he wanted to know what is it that in me that attracts Srimad Radharani. Why is she attracted to me? What is it in me that attracts her? And the second thing he wanted to know is she seems to experience more pleasure than I experience. I want to experience the pleasure that she feels in her relationship with me. So in the Bhagavatam we have a Paribhas Sutra, a verse through which all the other verses has to be understood. Well, a Paribhasa Sutra is a verse that indicates that all other verses must be understood through the principle explained in that verse. Otherwise, they are incorrectly misunderstood. So, for the Chaitanya Charitamrita to understand all the verses correctly, one must understand Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radhe Krishna Nai Anga. Radha Lord Chaitanya is directly Radha and Krishna. It's Krishna in the mood of Radharani. We cannot explore that here. This is a too profound topic. But Lord Chaitanya revealed to us Vrindavan and opened the door for Goloka Vrindavan. He opened the door to enter the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And he empowered Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami to describe Vrindavan through their writings. So Lord Chaitanya is not just a form of Krishna, it's Krishna himself in the mood of Srimad Radharani. Lord Chaitanya is not just a form of Krishna, it's Krishna himself in the mood of Srimad Radharani. He gave us the highest, the entrance to Goloka Vrindavan, and he gave us that entrance from the Kali Yuga platform. So he gave us access to the topmost realm of Krishna consciousness. And very mercifully, he gave us this process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada said many times, chant Hare Krishna and your life will become sublime. So Lord Chaitanya, he appeared in this world in 1486. And tomorrow we celebrate the 535th birthday of Lord Chaitanya. Yeah. Yeah. That because 1986 was 500 plus 35 is 21, so it should be okay. That so in the Adi Lila chapter 13, text 122, there the appearance of Lord Chaitanya in this world is announced. So I type it in the chat. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi, that chapter 13, text 1, 2, 3. That I will read as this verse, because the first 6 verses we heard of the Adi Lila were in Sanskrit, but now this is the old Bengali. That my spiritual master Bhakti Charamas used to say Bengali is a spiritual language because it was spoken by Lord Chaitanya. Ache Prabhu Sachigare Kripalakai Ache Prabhu Sachigare Kripalakai Avatar Yaya Karaya Shravana Gaura Prabhu Dayamayam Tangre Ayena Sadaya Sepaya Tanara Charana. In this way, Lord Chaitanya, out of his causeless mercy, made his advent in the house of Sachi Devi. Lord Chaitanya is very merciful to anyone who hears this narration of his birth, and thus such a person attains the lotus feet of the Lord. So, when Lord Chaitanya appeared, there was full moon. But on that day, the moon of Lord Chaitanya appeared. And the moon felt ashamed. That the moon was thinking, I'm nothing compared to the Lord. So, because the moon was ashamed, there occurred, it is said there occurred a moon eclipse which was not predicted. So at that time when the moon was eclipsed, to counteract that, all the Hindus started to chant the names of the Lord. They were all chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So the atmosphere was filled with chanting of the holy name of Krishna when Lord Chaitanya appeared. Even the Muslims, they were joking with these Hindus and were imitating them. Hare Krishna, they will say. So, yes, that was the purpose of the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, to start this chanting of the holy names of Krishna. And at his appearance, everyone was chanting the holy names. So he appeared as a son of Jagannath Mishra and Mother Sachi, who were known as great devotees. He did not manifest himself as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. That in the beginning, when he was very young, that Lord Chaitanya who received the name Nimai because he was born under a Nimai tree, he was crying regularly and he would not stop crying. And some of the mothers was thinking when he's going to stop crying, and to say, like someone would say, oh my God, when he's going to stop crying. So she said, oh Hari, Krishna, when he's going to stop crying. And when, when she spoke the word Hari and Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Nimai stopped crying, and he was smiling very broadly. So the mothers got it very quickly that when he was crying, they would say Hare Krishna and he would stop and smile. And one time when he was like 2-3 years, that he was playing in the garden and there was a snake, and he went to the snake and embraced the snake. And the, the Mother Sachi came out and took him away from the snake, that, that, that she was horrified. And Nimai said, it's my snake, I want back to the snake. And he, he moved as such that he got out of their grip, and again he was running into the garden, and he was lying down on the snake. That this snake was Seshanaga, the eternal servant of the Lord, who is offering his himself as the bed of the Lord. But still, in his youth, when he was very young, Nimai did not manifest himself as a devotee. So externally he was not a devotee. So in his same class in school, there was Gadadhar Pandit, Mukunda, and they were all devotees. And they would tell Nimai that you should chant Hare Krishna. You should chant Hare Krishna. And Nimai said, and Nimai replied, why should I bother with chanting? You should learn grammar, rhetoric, nyaya, debate. So Nimai was very good in debate, and he would defeat every opponent completely. And one day Mukunda said to Lord Chaitanya, I wish that you become a devotee. Mukunda said, you could be such a good devotee, you could be a preacher and you could convince people. And Lord Chaitanya said, alright, I tell you what, I will become a devotee, and just to make you happy. Lord Chaitanya said, I will become such a devotee that you will never have seen a devotee like me. I will become the topmost devotee, he said. But which devotee, who is a devotee who will speak like that? It looks like arrogant, right? Mukunda was thinking, this is too much. That, and Lord Chaitanya said, I will become such a devotee that Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva will appear just to take the dust of my lotus feet. Of course, as devotees, we are not encouraged to say things like that. But that is what he said. He said, I will become the best devotee of all times. But Mukunda said, this is too much. So Lord Chaitanya was keeping his identity as a devotee hidden for some time. But on one day there was a kirtan in the house of Shiva's Thakur. and Lord Chaitanya was participating. And Lord Chaitanya, he went to the altar. And Shaligram, well, Srivas Thakur was worshipping there the Shaligram Shila. And Lord Chaitanya moved the Shaligram Shila to the side and he sat on the altar himself. And then Lord Chaitanya called the devotees one by one. And he revealed them his forms as Lord Ram, Nrsimha and Lord Krishna. So he called for Murari Gupta. So Murari Gupta, he was a doctor who would cure, material and spiritual diseases. His diagnosis would be based on making spiritual advancement on the condition of the heart, and it would give them the cure, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. But Murari Gupta's relationship with Lord Chaitanya is that he is, with the Lord, is that he's Hanuman. So Lord Chaitanya, he called at Murari Gupta and said, "Look at me." And Murari Gupta, what did he see? He did see Sita and Ram. Ram met a green color. So Lord Chaitanya is Lord Chaitanya is a combined form of Radha and Krishna. So, but he saw not Radha and Krishna, but Sita and Ram. And when Murari Gupta looked at Lord Nityananda, he saw Lakshman. So Murari Gupta asked, "Where is Hanuman?" And Lord Chaitanya said, "Murari Gupta, Murari, look at yourself." And he saw that he was Hanuman. And then Lord Chaitanya called for Haridas Thakur. And he said to Haridas Thakur, "Do you remember you have been beaten in 24 marketplaces?" Do you remember that in all these marketplaces, when you have been beaten, you didn't feel anything of the beating? And those who were beating you, they became completely frustrated, because even after beating you in 24 marketplaces, you did not die. And Lord Chaitanya said, I took that beating. I covered your back and I took all the beating on my back. And Lord Chaitanya showed his back, and there were wounds and injuries of all this beating. And when Haridas saw that, he collapsed. So how merciful the Lord was. So this, and right thereafter the Sankirtan movement started. They started to go out and chant the Hare Krishna mantra in public. But soon the Muslim police came and arrested them and broke their mridangas and said, do that never again or we come back. And then Lord Chaitanya, he came out, and with thousands and thousands and thousands of people, they were chanting the holy names in public and went to the house of the Kasi out of protest. So this is the beginning of the Sankirtan movement, and so we find so many pastimes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the Bhagavatam confirms Kali dosinitera jan askiko manguna kirtanya eva krishnasya mukta sangha brahmvajat. Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, but there is one good quality in this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the spiritual world. This congregational chanting, the last verse of the Bhagavatam says, has the potency to destroy all sinful reactions. So this is an introduction of Lord Chaitanya in anticipation of the great celebration we will have tomorrow, the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya. Thank you very much. Any question or comment, please? Yeah, it, one should understand the identity of Lord Chaitanya and understand all the other verses through that understanding, otherwise the other verses will not be properly understood. Yeah, it is. One can understand all the other verses in the correct light in which they have to be understood. That Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna together. In the same way, in the Bhagavad Gita, you have the Chatur Sloka, beginning met Aham Sarvasya Prabhavu. So, because all other verses of Bhagavad Gita must be understood through the knowledge of the Chatur Sloka. Not really. By the other verses must be understood through this knowledge of Chatusloki, through this knowledge. Yeah. If one does not understand that Krishna, yeah, if one does not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the source of all material and spiritual worlds, then some verses will be misunderstood and one may think, yeah, Brahman is supreme or something like that. So we must understand it through this. Like also, Ete Shamskalar Pushpamsa Krishna Stu Bhagavansvayam. Krishna is the is a fountainhead, the source of all other incarnations. All other verses must be understood in that light. If we don't understand it in that light, if we don't consider that, we may come to the conclusion that Krishna is an avatar from Vishnu, which is wrong. Yes. So in the same way, if we don't understand that Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna together, we cannot, if we don't that keep in our mind while reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we forget that, we may come to, to wrong interpretations or understandings. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita is the highest knowledge. It is the PhD study of spiritual life, and it can only be understood after having realized the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, it's a doctoral study of spiritual life, Srila Prabhupada says. That therefore Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj starts the Chaitanya Charitamrita with explaining that Krishna is the absolute truth and that Lord Chaitanya is the same Krishna. Therefore, we must first realize that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, it's an advanced study, Chaitanya Charitamrita. But Lord Chaitanya is the most merciful incarnation. He's Bhakta Rupa, and he comes to show us by his own example how to live as a devotee, how to practice devotional service, and how to practice this surrender to Krishna in this age. And that mercy of Lord Chaitanya came to us in the form of Srila Prabhupada. He was his great general who spread his chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra all over the world. So, any comments or questions? I've I've 50 minutes left. Yeah, to 10 past 9 I have to go online for the other lecture. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you. Maybe translation of the question. Devotional service, especially the chanting of the holy names, cannot be hampered by any material circumstance. That, of course, preaching is the greatest service to Lord Chaitanya. That, but it starts with our own, yeah, it, it starts with taking care of our own spiritual life by trying to follow these instructions of Lord Chaitanya and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in a regular way. By keeping your children in a spiritual atmosphere. Try to give them only Krishna Prasad. Try to, and let them hear the chanting or kirtan in one way or another. That's also preaching. That's preaching to your own children. And, and, and sometimes you can read Prabhupada books, you can read them loudly. Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj said, if there is nobody to preach to, we preach to the walls and they will also benefit. So, there is no bar in pleasing Lord Chaitanya. That, yes. And if other opportunities for preaching come later, then take it as Lord Chaitanya's mercy to engage in that. I've heard many times from one of my Shiksha gurus. He always said that we are only servants of the circumstances given to us by Lord Krishna. So we must accept every circumstance that we get in our lives as Krishna's arrangement and mercy. And we must act within the limitations of these circumstances. But important is our desire to give this to others. If we cultivate that desire, finally Krishna will reciprocate with us. Does that help, Mother Pranapriya? Hare Krishna. So, anything else? Hare Krishna. Krishna Vallabhapa. Hare Krishna. Yes, sure. I'll put my email in the chat and you can write me if you. Sometimes I'm busy, it may take some time to reply, but I try my best. So it's there. That's my email. Hare Krishna. Good, then I thank you all for your attention. I will. Thank you. I wish you also the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Jai Prabhupada. Haribol.